Hey guys, welcome to my new series, which I'm hoping isn't too ahead of its time, as that sometimes doesn't go over well. It's called That's Bull. No, That's Baloney. It's a tier list, and the higher class of baloney, the more infuriating and rare it is. Now, what classifies as baloney? Well, just about anything that makes you go... And for this video, we're using Rise of the Tomb Raider for examples and demonstrations. Here we go. D-class baloney. Stuffed baloney. You see this at your buddy's house. His mom just got done making it and is super proud of it. But if it tastes as good as it looks, there's not going to be any winners here. This class is for morbidly bad luck. Completely avoidable mistakes. Or when RNGesus looks at you and laughs. A few examples are missing those well-timed shots, or failing hard at dynamic events. Basically, anything that's your fault. If your aim is anything like mine, really good, you tend to line up your shots to guarantee the kill. And then this happens. Nothing screams failure like missing a shot that took you 30 seconds to line up. Let's move on to failing dynamic events. In these situations, all you have to do is keep Laura running and jumping, as the stages generally become very linear. So you should be fine. But due to your own oblivious nature and inability to go the one way the game is pointing out, things just don't go your way. Let's upgrade to C-class baloney, the Loaf baloney. Be it pimento cheese or some other strange loaf concoction, you've never been excited to see this in anyone's grocery cart, even if you're not the one who has to eat it. This class is notorious for giving you ridiculous upgrades for your items, skills, or equipment from things like toilets, strange rituals, loot boxes, or my least favorite form of DLC, real money transactions. Unfortunately, subjects in this category are so commonplace in video games, we just don't question why anymore, even if we sometimes should. In Rise of the Tomb Raider's case, nothing says that's baloney like learning how to hold 2 more arrows from an ancient text buried in a tomb, or upgrading your ability to kill wildlife by finally learning where the animal's hearts are located. As a hardened survivalist, I'm not sure where Laura thought the heart was located, but I'm glad she knows now. Let's move on to B-class baloney, the average lunch baloney. As long as it's name brand, you usually weren't too disappointed to find this in your lunchbox. Toss in some Doritos and a fruit roll-up and everybody's happy. Unfortunately, B-class baloney is rarely name brand, and you may not like what you got, but you are still going to eat it, because it is still technically baloney. This tier typically features mechanics, items, enemies, or anything that's constantly reused. Over-designed, or underwhelming. They just leave you with a sense of what were they thinking? In Rise of the Tomb Raider, you have a massive variety of opponents, but one of the more memorable enemies was a helicopter. And the only way to bring this enemy down was to call in a trunch bolt attack, then fire your weapon of choice at a fireball while it's above the helicopter, all while taking care of enemy troops on the ground, who will need to be killed quickly if you want any time to line up your next trunch bolt shot. Another prominent enemy on this list is the grizzly bear, who, after receiving multiple shotgun blasts to the face, being lit on fire, poisoned, and just repeatedly shot all over, just kinda shrugs it off. I'm no zoologist, but I'm pretty sure a shotgun blast to the face kills most things.
Clever girl.
That being said, it only gets better from here. Up next is A-class baloney, the Mortadella. This is some of the most extravagant baloney you could ever taste. Having a mouthful of this cured meat fills you with hope. With such an amazing texture and flavor, it's hard to believe it's related to Oscar Mayer.
Hold on, come back.
And like the Mortadella, subjects in this category, when examined just a little further, stop being a great experience and start being baloney. Things like this. I'm fairly certain my level 100 Charizard, who can melt boulders, doesn't need an HM to deal with this obstacle. How about getting down quickly from a place that's really high? Well, just jump. You'll be fine. Or maybe you'll die. Here's hoping that hay bale's got your back. Or, my favorite, you go ahead, I'll stay here. Yeah, nothing says camaraderie like letting me fight this world-ending boss alone, cause I know you have better things to do. A couple good examples of Mortadella in Rise of the Tomb Raider. You can't cut the flag ropes without a combat knife. Really? I'm pretty sure these razor-sharp ice picks can do the trick. They've literally saved my life, and they can't cut through this rope? Or How about these arrows? I've been using these to skin animals the entire game. Still no? Wonderful. Well, let's move on to something a little more scrumptious. The planetary puzzle just before Katesh. In this anxiety-driven puzzle, Laura has arrows, she has rope, and she has grappling wire. Let's make this easy on ourselves and just aim for the ceiling. Good point. We should absolutely not do that and parkour our way to the top. And then, once you get there and you think you've completed the puzzle, you hit a switch and everything starts spinning. Look, this type of baloney needs to stop. My therapist is tired of hearing about it. And finally, we have S-Class Bologna, the Waygu beef bologna. Didn't know it existed? Not surprising. The alicorn of bolognas. Even when someone claims to have seen something in this tier, you don't believe them. You have to see it to believe it. This particular tier can be tricky as it does change depending on the game, generally involving bugs that randomly affect or even break gameplay, enemy encounters forcing you to follow a poorly or anticlimactic fight or script, totally busted abilities or items, or the game's difficulty just goes from 1 to an 11 in a heartbeat, giving you little or no time to prepare. This tier generally excludes Soulsborne style enemies, as they're made with frustration in mind. The best examples I can think of for this tier are the final boss of Rise of the Tomb Raider Constantine and the mystery of the disappearing can. First, let's tackle the final boss Constantine, who requires you to use your ice picks as your primary weapon as he's taken all of your other equipment. The only problem with that is that you must use a stealth attack, otherwise it'll feel like you're hitting him with limp hot dogs. And it's only when you launch a stealth attack with these hot dogs do they truly do any damage. Now, I understand fights like this have their place, but after you've gone through the painstaking tasks of leveling everything up, getting the best equipment you can possibly get, can't use any of it anymore. Enjoy those hot dogs. Then, there's the disappearing can. Let me begin by saying I was trying to open this barrier, which requires an explosion. No problem, I can make those, and I know where to get a can. Except regardless of how hard you try, the can will not make it down with you. I tried for an hour or so, and eventually I got real close. But in the end, the game just hits you in the face with baloney. What did you think of my tier list? Did I get it right? Did I miss anything? Let me know, and I'll see you in the comments.